Ever wish you could, like, really get more out of those AI tools?
Yeah.
Chat GPT,
Yeah.
Well, today's deep dive,
Mm.
it's all about unlocking that potential, and it's called prompt engineering.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like learning the art of talking to AI.
Right.
You're crafting those instructions so it really understands what you're looking for, especially when you want to generate, like, awesome content.
It's almost like having a super smart but very literal assistant.
Yeah.
You have to be very precise and very clear, and even a bit creative, frankly, to sort of guide it toward those best results.
And that's where this technique that we're exploring comes in, the alternative approach pattern. So instead of getting just one answer from your AI, imagine pushing it to explore a whole bunch of different perspectives, multiple ways of tackling the same problem.
It's like if you are facing a challenge,
Mhm.
and instead of just having one advisor, you have a whole team of advisors, each one with their own unique take on how to approach that particular problem. So you
Mhm.
get a much richer understanding that way.
I like that. So how does this alternative approach pattern actually work?
Right.
It sounds like a conversation, right? Like with the AI.
It is, exactly. The first thing that's important is that the AI restates the question that you asked it.
Oh, okay.
So think of it like this, it's double checking. Like, okay, so this is what you're really asking.
Right.
Right. It's more than a formality. It's really to make sure that you and the AI are on the same page before it starts offering alternatives.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've had those moments where it's like, are you answering the question that I asked? Or the question that you thought I was asking?
Right.
So that's really interesting.
Right. And that's where this pattern really shines, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because once it's confirmed that, yeah, okay, this is the question, it then presents an alternative approach to it.
All right.
So it's like saying, hey, have you thought about it this way?
Okay.
Here's another angle that you may not have considered.
So it's not just giving me an answer, it's giving me options.
Yeah. And then it goes even further.
Oh, wow.
It will actually lay out the pros and cons of each approach
Oh, nice.
in a clear and concise way.
Just tell me which one's better.
It doesn't, but you can see like side by side, okay, what are the potential benefits of this approach? What are the drawbacks? What are the, potential benefits and drawbacks of this other approach?
So it's almost like having a debate partner built in to sort of like weigh the options objectively.
That's right. That's right. And then finally, it does something really clever. It asks you which approach you would prefer for it to proceed with in giving you the answer.
So I'm still the one in control. I'm guiding the AI to kind of go down a path that maybe fits my priorities or whatever it is that I'm really looking to solve.
Precisely. You're in the driver's seat.
This all sounds incredibly useful, but I imagine that there are some best practices to keep in mind to really make this pattern work well.
Right. You're absolutely right.
Like, are there certain ways to phrase things or anything like that?
Well, the source that we're looking at here highlights a few key points. And the first one is to encourage that diverse thinking.
Okay.
So don't be afraid to, push the AI to really explore those unconventional solutions, especially if you're in a brainstorming session or tackling a particularly difficult problem.
Yeah, because the more perspectives that it can offer,
Mm-hmm.
the more creative the solution can be, potentially.
That's it. So the more diverse the perspectives, the better.
So I'm just opening up a whole world of possibilities, potentially.
Exactly. And the next best practice that it highlights is to balance that breadth with depth.
Okay.
So you want to make sure that in exploring those alternatives, the AI is providing enough detail for each of them.
Yeah, because I don't want to just skim the surface. I want to really get into the nuances of each perspective.
That's right. It's not just about skimming the surface.
Right. I want it to be actionable. So, like, I can really take that information and actually do something with it.
Precisely. So it's got to be comprehensive and actionable.
Perfect. Okay.
And the source also emphasizes how this pattern is really useful across various fields, whether you're talking about, business strategy, project management, creative writing, or even just problem solving in your daily life.
So it's really like a secret weapon for just thinking more creatively and comprehensively about whatever it is that you're working on.
That's a great way to put it.
But before we get too carried away, it's important to remember that these AI tools like ChatGPT and Google Gemini, they're not perfect.
True.
Right.
That's right. You can't just take it as gospel.
Right.
And in fact, the source includes a disclaimer about the potential for AI to generate, incorrect or inaccurate outputs. So it is critical to double check the information that it gives you.
Use your own critical thinking skills as well.
Always.
Don't just trust everything that it tells you blindly.
You got it.
But used wisely, this alternative approach pattern seems like an incredible tool for unlocking that true potential that AI has.
I completely agree. And there's even more to this pattern than what we've covered so far.
Okay.
So why don't we take a moment to delve into some more specific examples and techniques?
Yeah, because I'm really eager to see how this works in practice so I can start implementing this and really get the
Yeah,
most out of these tools.
absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about the structure, but now I want to see this alternative approach pattern in action, like in real-world scenarios.
Mm.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Let's say you're a project manager and your team is facing a roadblock,
Okay.
a big one. Instead of just asking the AI for a solution, you could use this pattern and say something like, okay, we're really struggling to meet our deadline.
Yeah.
Can you present an alternative approach to our current project management strategy?
So the AI might then be like, well, have you considered agile instead of waterfall?
Right.
And then it lays out the pros and cons, and so then I, as the project manager, can then make a better decision
Okay.
based on all this information.
That's exactly right. You're getting a much deeper understanding of all the options available. Or let's say you're a writer, you're staring at a blank page.
Oh, the work.
Classic writer's block.
Yeah.
You could ask the AI, I'm stuck on this scene. Can you suggest an alternative way to develop this character's arc?
Instead of just spitting out like one idea,
Right.
it gives me a whole bunch of options that I could potentially use.
Exactly.
So this is so cool. I'm already starting to see how this could be useful.
And remember, you're not just passively receiving this information. You're really engaging with the AI. You're shaping the conversation,
Oh, okay.
and you're kind of guiding it toward an output that really meets your needs.
This brings up an interesting point, though.
Yeah,
The way we phrase our prompts must be so important here.
it is.
Because if I'm not specific enough,
Mm-hmm.
the AI might not give me truly diverse alternatives.
You are so right. Crafting those clear and effective prompts is crucial because the more specific you are about the kinds of alternatives you're seeking, the more helpful and focused the AI's response will be.
Okay, so if I'm looking for something that's really out there, that's unconventional,
Yeah,
I might need to explicitly state that.
absolutely. You could say something like, I'm looking for solutions that challenge conventional wisdom,
Right.
or explore alternatives that are outside the box.
Okay.
Think of it like setting those boundaries for the AI to work within.
That's like giving someone directions.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. The more specific you are, the less likely they are to get lost.
Right. But I'm thinking about potential downsides. Is this pattern useful for literally every type of question? Or are there times when it might not be the best way to go?
That's a great question. And while this pattern is incredibly versatile, it might not be the best fit for every situation.
Okay.
For example, if you're looking for a very straightforward factual answer, like
Okay.
what is the capital of France,
Right.
using this alternative approach pattern, it would be a little overkill.
So it's better suited for when you need to really explore those different options and weigh the pros and cons.
Yeah. Exactly. You got it. It's all about using the right tool for the job.
It seems like mastering this pattern could be a game changer for anyone who uses AI.
It really could. It allows you to move beyond those simple question and answer interactions
Yeah.
and really embrace this more collaborative approach.
Mm.
You're pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI.
It's almost like learning a new language.
I love that.
It's the language of AI.
And as these AI tools continue to evolve, our ability to effectively communicate with them is going to be even more critical.
It's very futuristic and exciting. I'm already thinking about how I can start using this.
Yeah.
But before we get too carried away,
Right.
let's remind our listeners where they can learn more about this technique.
Yes, absolutely. For those of you who are ready to take that next step, we highly recommend checking out that blog post that really sparked this whole conversation.
Yeah.
It's Devabrata Prusit's Prompt Engineering, Alternative Approach Pattern Gen AI.
It's an amazing resource that breaks it all down. It gives you examples. It even gives you some advanced tips to really take your prompt engineering skills to that next level. We'll be sure to include a link in the show notes for everyone.
Definitely. If you want to master the art of communicating with AI, that blog post is a must-read.
So to wrap things up, what have we learned? We've learned that the alternative approach pattern is a very powerful technique for getting more out of these AI tools.
Yes.
And it helps us to explore different perspectives, weigh those options, and make better decisions.
It's about moving beyond just asking questions and really starting to collaborate with these incredible AI systems.
It's pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who want to learn more and start experimenting, go and check out that blog post. We'll have a link in the show notes. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into prompt engineering.
It's been fun.
It's kind of crazy to think that this pattern really changes, how we talk to AI.
Right.
It's not just getting answers anymore. It's like having a thought partner.
Totally. Like a brainstorming buddy that's built right in. It can challenge all of our assumptions and make us think about things we never would have thought about before and lead to better, more creative solutions.
I really like this idea of AI helping us to kind of get over our own biases.
Right.
Because we all have them.
Oh, for sure.
Ways of thinking that maybe aren't the best or they limit us.
Yeah, yeah. And that's where this pattern's so powerful because it forces us to think about these other viewpoints, even if they seem kind of weird at first.
Yeah.
And we can, get out of those ruts.
Oh, it's like a built-in devil's advocate.
I love that.
Right. It's just pushing us.
Yeah.
So to wrap up our deep dive into this pattern, what are some of the key takeaways? What should our listeners really remember?
Okay, so number one, remember those prompts, right? Clear and specific.
Yeah.
The more clarity you give, the more useful the answers are going to be.
It's like giving directions, right?
Absolutely.
The better the directions,
Yeah.
the more likely you are to get where you want to go.
Exactly. And when you're using this pattern, really push that AI. Think outside the box. Don't be scared to ask for unconventional solutions.
Right. Yeah. Don't limit it.
Yeah, challenge that status quo.
It's like instead of just getting one answer, I have this whole world of possibilities.
Exactly. You're going to come up with solutions you wouldn't have thought of on your own.
We talk about that balance.
Yeah.
Breadth and depth, right?
Yeah. You want a bunch of different choices, but you need enough information to understand them, right?
Because it's not just about how many, it's about quality too.
Exactly. You need to be able to do something with them. And lastly, this isn't just a theory. This is something you can actually use. Starting today.
Yeah.
Problem solving, creativity, decision making, all those things.
This has been so fun. I'm already thinking about how I can use this pattern.
Yeah.
And I think our listeners are probably feeling the same way.
I hope so.
Before we go, where can everyone learn more?
You already know. Deborah Brada Prusa. Prompt engineering. Alternative approach, pattern Gen AI. That blog post is full of practical examples, more advanced tips.
It's great.
We'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah. So listeners, keep exploring, keep experimenting.
Yeah.
Really push those boundaries.
You got this.
This incredible future of AI is right there in front of you.
Yeah.
All it takes is a good prompt.
And a willingness to think about things in a different way.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.